And here we are. We are live here on YouTube. Welcome to the First Layer Ask for Help. This is our live stream that we have every Saturday night. Guess who's back with me? The guy down there.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. I should say you should be telling me to welcome back, but I am back from my last crazy little COVID job. So
You
party
know,
time again.
I almost want to sing the Welcome Back Cotter song for you, but I don't know all the words. So,
Plus, we don't want anything
you don't
infringing.
even know who Welcome Back Cotter is, do you?
No, I don't.
No, yeah, that was before your time. Let's say hi to some people. We got Johnny Gardner, who was first in the room tonight. He was the first one in the room. Parker Cooper. We've got our good friend Jerry Knapp from 3D Printing and Painting. And Rex Waldy, Can 3D Print. Joseph Jolly from Orlando. Snapshot
Wow.
FPV. We've got Trevor Rickard, 14 Scarecrow, Mark Thibodeau, Gary T. Greetings from Alberta. We have my lovely wife, Geraldine Ham, who is monitoring the chat tonight. We have Mark L. Baker, Stephen Friend, Dominic Versetto, Luckiness Gaming, David Sell, One Raz, Corey Mack, and Brian Baker. Wow.
Hello.
That was a lot to get out. Oh, there's Haka, Haki, Huki, Hayuki. I'm butchering that last
I don't know. Regardless,
regardless,
happy
hi,
Saturday,
everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, it's a Saturday. Brian's back. We're
Yeah.
back to our regular scheduled format. I have been suffering with severe back pain for quite a while. So I've been at home, and falling down on the floor didn't help things very much either.
Ooh.
Yeah, that really messed up my lower back. But Lockiness Gaming is saying, Richard, turn up your audio. If I turn it up, there it is. It's all the way up. It can't get any more up than that. That's my audio. Sorry, kids. So that's where we're at right now. So, pronounced Hawk. There we go. There's Gordon
Hawk. Okay.
Claridge. There we go. Okay. So, Pierre from Edmonton. All right. So let's get into it tonight. We've got some questions that have come in over email over the last couple of weeks. We're going to tackle those tonight. We're going to tackle your questions here in the chat tonight as well. Super chat is turned on, so if you get an answer to your question in our chat room tonight, and you feel like helping us out to upgrade equipment, buy supplies, things like that, that would really help. Hey, there's RT. Welcome, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump right into it. Our first one comes from Rasmus Wallen. Now, he did send me his configuration H and his configuration advanced files. I have not had the time to look at them because I can't sit in a chair for very long. I have to, it's a whole complicated story. But he says, I don't get my hot end up to more than 35 degrees Celsius. My max is 250, and I have a micro Swiss hot end. What could be the error? He's got an SKR 1.4 turbo TMC 2209, a micro Swiss hot end, Bondtech BMG drive, and a TFT 35. Well, I'm going to probably say it has to do with the barrier that is set up in the firmware itself. There's usually a 10 to 15 degree offset from your max, so you'll never reach the max. You'll always get to maybe 10 degrees below that or 15 degrees below that. So what I would do is increase the max to 300 because that hot end, if it's a micro Swiss, will definitely handle that 300 degrees. And I will look at the code for him and send him back where I think he should make the changes and then, get things back up and running for himself. Not sure what printer that is on. I'm going to assume that's on a Creality. Maybe I'm wrong. Rasmus usually is in our chat. He probably will jump in later tonight.
No, you're absolutely right. There is a 15-degree deadband, and it catches me every time. So if your printer, by default, I think it's 275 on Marlin, so
Yep.
it cuts you off at 260. And it has to do a little bit with process automation with determining your fail high value. And so if you set up to 260, it's not going to shut down the printer if you hit 265. So if your printer can handle it, bump it up to 300. I don't see a reason to set it any higher than 300, but 300 will get you, I believe, 285 as your maximum
Yeah.
set point.
Which is good enough for most of the stuff you're going to be printing through a hot end like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Gordon Claridge in our chat tonight is asking a question that's next up on our list from John. So let's just get into that. John is asking, just wondering what your thoughts on the newly announced CR6 SE from Creality, currently available on Kickstarter is. And Gordon Claridge asked the same questions. Any thoughts on the new CR6 SE? What is coming in August, or that's coming in August? Thoughts currently, I don't really have any opinions on it one way or another. I've only seen a few reviews, and I haven't really watched them all the way through because I don't want to have a biased opinion on them. What about you?
I was there kind of at the launch night following the pricing because if it was sub $400 Canadian, I would have just impulse bought it. But
Gotcha.
I think the early bird sailing pricing came in at 470, and that was only the flash sale for the first hour, and then it went up to 550 or so. So already I'm looking at this and wondering what's the value at that price point compared to other 3D printers on the market. So before you jump on the Kickstarter, I realize they have a developed product, but look at what it brings to the table for $500. And I think preemptively, I think you'll be happy to find a result under that may suit your needs.
Super chat.
We just got a super chat from Trevor Rickard. Thank you very much. This is for last week. Thank you so much for helping me fixing my E-steps. You're very welcome.
You're very
for that,
welcome,
Trevor. Every little bit goes to helping out the channel. Yeah, I think the CR6 is, again, it's a wait and see game for me, really. Does it have anything new that I'm totally excited about? Other than, the 32-bit board and the dual lead screws on it, nothing else really kind of grabs my interest. But we will see. That touchscreen's kind of nice too. But we'll see exactly what it is on final launch. Final launch won't be out until August, from my understanding. So we'll see what happens with it. Snapshot FPV is saying, I think 3D Printing Nerd did a review on it as well. Yeah, he did one. Neres did one.
Naomi did, I believe.
Naomi did one. Recently just came out, I think a day or two ago, was Chuck Hellebuck's review of the CR6 as well. I don't know if we're going to get one for review. I have not been contacted. I've reached out to them a few times. Don't know that we are going to be getting one, but we're moving a little bit now into resin for the next little while as far as our show goes. We've got another resin printer sitting here that just came in this week, and it is from our good friends over at Frozen. They sent us the Sonic Mini, so I just actually took it out and started to test with it today, and we're going to do some amazing stuff with it. We got a black ABS like water washable resin, and then we got some of their aqua as well. They sent us along some of their aqua as well. So we're going to do some prints with it. We're going to see how it works. I will tell you straight up that this one did not come with what do you call it there? A plastic vat. It actually came with a machined aluminum vat. So,
I'm seeing some feedback that you're coming in a bit quieter compared to me.
Now, let me see what I can do about that. I can't go up much more. Let's see. How's that? 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
nope.
Perfect. Yeah, it was good, and then it cut out briefly. So
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Is that better?
That's about the same. Let us know in the comments. Thumbs up if the audio's good. Thumbs down if it's bad.
If I put my mic in closer, I'm going to be doing this.
He's gonna put on the sexy voice.
And then we'll have one of these evenings. Welcome to the first layer. You know what the first layer is all about. All right, quit being a sick, demented individual.
Well, I can tell you, resin is probably going to be my go forward lately. I just placed an order yesterday for $500 of filament because everything is going up in price, and that was through filaments.ca. And by the time I told people mid afternoon, almost all the colors I ordered were out of stock already.
Wow.
Yeah, so PLA is still the hot commodity right now.
Yeah, PLA is going to be a very hot commodity coming up in the very near future as well. I know everybody's prices are going up,
Yes.
and you know it's going to be one of those things that we got to live with it. Moving over to resin, however, I've been looking on Amazon as of late for some of the pricing, and I'm finding that 500 ml bottles are going for $27, $37. I can get 1 liter bottles for less than $70 on some
Mhm.
brands, and I'm eager to try them out. So we'll see what happens. Pierre has a question. He says, all my stepper are fine, although after the bed leveling, just before doing the line trace, my gantry move not consistently, almost like stopping.
Do you have junction deviation enabled, or have you upgraded your firmware? Because there's a lot of bugs with junction deviation right now, and I'm telling a lot of people until it gets sorted out, or until we have more powerful processors on the market right now, you want to stick with classic jerk on your printer because you will
Yes.
see stutters in your movement. Um, Part of it is due to it moving the Z gantry a little bit slower, but a lot of it is sub calculations and trying to prevent inertia bursts. So,
Gotcha.
TLDR, enable classic jerk if you're using Marlin 2.0 right now.
Snapshot says he's not in the market for a new printer because the weather's getting nicer. Time to fly. Speaking of flying, I don't know if you guys have caught any of this on anybody here into Hot Wheels. Give me a thumbs up if you're into Hot Wheels racing cars, because
Diecast, man. Gotta love it.
diecast. I actually stumbled across a channel called 3D Bot Maker, and what I thought it was a 3D printing channel at first, but it's not. It's 3D printing for track that this guy has made to do
Oh,
Hot Wheels racing. And I would encourage everybody to go check this out. You can download the parts for his track free of charge over on Thingiverse. And if you want to make your own, you know, downslope track like he's done, watch some of these things. It's like watching NASCAR. The color commentary is just amazing. And as a matter of fact, I was watching a little bit of it before the show tonight with my wife while we were having supper. And this stuff is just hilarious. Check out the 3D Bot Maker channel. If you're into Hot Wheels, you're into 3D printing, and check this out. We might do something a little bit later on that topic. Now, I know that we're kind of late to the dance by several years on this, but I did start printing the parts for the RCF1, the Open RCF1 by Danielle Noré. So we eventually will do something with that. I'm hoping that maybe next year we can get a bunch of guys together and we can go and race our F1s and have a 3D printed Le Mans.
oh man. You know, I'm hoping by then 3D printing filament will come down a little bit in price because the last thing you guys saw me post before I had to go back to the field there was a Halo DMR rifle, which was 1.2 meters long, which is about 3.5 to 4 feet long. That cost me 2.5 kilos of filament, and I think I burned through 5 kilos on failures. So
There we
that was
go.
not a cheap rifle.
There we go. What else we got going on here? Thank you greatly, Pierre says. He upgraded his firmware. Okay, so it's got to be something in your firmware then, I would say. Hey, there's Can 3D
Yeah, it's
Print. He's given us the thumbs up. Yes, Snapshot. My wife is posting a link right now to the 3D Bot Maker. Betty Boop 45, hello, welcome. How's R2? I'm getting asked. R2 is still sitting in parts. I haven't gotten back to him because with everything that we're doing in our household right now to get everything organized properly. So we have a printer room, we have a shooting room, and so on and so forth. It's a tough thing. But yeah, Geraldine, my wife, has just posted a link to 3D Bot Maker in the chat. So I encourage everybody to go check them out. And I'm going to encourage everybody to download the Danielle Noré OpenRC F1 car if you're into RCs, and let us know how you're doing with that. And I'm going to be posting pictures of mine pretty soon. I've got some of the chassis done, not all of it. 3D printing and painting, I sure hope it does come down in price. Since companies are getting more money, they may not come back down. I'm going to anticipate these prices are going to stay pretty stable now once they hit that plateau, and I think they're going to be coming in at around $30 to $35 or $35 or so. I don't think they're going to go up more than about $5, maybe $10 on the far extreme end of it, depending on who you buy it from.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you guys a bit of a tale because I attempted to do some wholesale purchasing of 3D filament lately. It's almost 100% shipping cost right now, and that's where we're stuck at. So I reached out to Sun Lu. My intention was to purchase about 24 kilos of filament, which ironically I ended up buying the other day domestically, but more on that later. In the end, I contacted them because the Alibaba link priced it at about $8 to $12 Canadian per kilogram, and which is about $6 to $8 US. It was very cheap, so I reached out to them to get an idea of cost. They came back to me and told me shipping costs currently to get just a box of 24 to Canada, the shipping alone was $335 US. So I was looking at well over $500 US for 24 kilos. And if you do the rough math, that comes out to more than $30 a kilo. So I got involved with a group buy from a gentleman in Quebec, and when that order comes in about 8 weeks, I hope to review the filament. But he told me he had to order $24,000 of filament to reach the $15 per kilo pricing to get it to Quebec, and then I still have to pay for shipping from Quebec to Calgary. So the simple answer right now is that unless somebody can domestically produce this in the US, and this might be a good time to look into brands like Xyltech and a few of those, I don't think you're going to have a lot of luck in finding cheap filament. But I agree with Richard. I think, at least on the Canadian side, we're going to see it settle in the $25 to $35 range.
I think so too. I've noticed that even the Econo lines have gone up in price here in Canada as well by about $5.
Yes,
so,
I didn't want to harp on Ron, but it was $15.95, and then it was $19.95, and then the morning that he released his stock, it jumped to $20.95. But you know what? It's still far cheaper than any other filament right now. So that's what's coming in for me, hopefully in the next week.
Well, I've got lots of filament here. I mean, we've got tons of it right now that we got to burn through. So before I do anything else, I got to burn through that. But what I need in here is more PETG and more ABS right now, because of course I've got the Flash Forge in the background there that is doing great for ABS. And I printed parts of my RC car. There's one part. This one failed, mind you, but this was my fault. It failed, but that's just one section of the car. So has the price of ABS and PETG skyrocketed as well? I haven't been following that. They have not. They actually haven't gone up more than about $2 or $3.
Well, that's not too bad then.
PETG, I think, has actually come down a little bit. So, at the end of the day, I think what's going to happen is people are looking for a replacement for ABS. There was some talk about another product coming out that was supposed to, or pardon me, they're looking for a replacement to PLA. And I think that there was one company that was talking about doing a derivative of PLA. I haven't heard anything more about it, but hopefully we hear something new in the very coming weeks. 3D printing and painting says a guy wanted to buy one of my finished models, but he's in England. $235 for shipping, so that didn't happen. Shipping
Yeah,
stuff,
no
and
kidding.
we have that problem here too in Canada, even for our merch. When we ship it to the States, it's far more expensive. It's a lot of times it's more than the actual value of the shirt. Same thing when we ship to the UK or anything overseas. It's far more. Like in Canada, I can ship one of these shirts for about $5. But in the States, it's like $15 to $20 to ship the shirt. And then it's like $30 to ship to the UK in some cases. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't pay. Speaking of that, on a related topic, shopthefirstlayer.com. As soon as we've worked out the shipping rates to different areas, you guys will be able to see and go and buy these new Star Wars style shirts. And keep an eye on that website because there's going to be a lot more stuff coming. We're going to be working on our own hoodies. Yes, Lachlan, we are going to work on child sizes for you as well, and long sleeve shirts. And we're talking about, my wife and I have been talking about some other stuff as well that'll end up on that website for you guys as well. So there might be some one-off models up there that we've painted that we may end up selling. So Snapshot's asking, how far from the U.S. border are you? Could you rent a U.S. post office box, ship it there, the drive across the border and pick it up?
That's a
Yeah, we're about 8 hours away from the border, I think.
No. It's only 3 hours to the border. Okay. I've bought two 3D printers from the U.S. and brought them across the border myself. It depends on the value of the package. So
Gotcha.
we have a company that I use called Montana Mailbox, which gives you a mailbox down in Sweetgrass, Montana, which is quite literally the next right turn after crossing the border. And we actually have some options through a couple different couriers that brings it from Montana up to Calgary. And I've done that again with a couple of printers, and the value is there. Now, if I'm buying multiple packages, the value is not there. So I have to do a large filament order to be it worth it. We recently did a Xialtech order, and I think we ordered 12 kilos of filament through them. And although the base price was US $15, by the time you took into account the shipping, the customs, and the border fees, it came out to be roughly $30 a kilo. So the cost savings versus the time was not worth it in that case.
Gotcha. What were you saying there, lovely wife? What did you find? She mentioned something and then she stopped talking. Oh yeah, she's saying Sweetgrass is right across the border.
It's a 6 hour round trip for that item, and
Okay.
the company charges us like a freight plus $2. So
Gotcha.
the valuation for the time, and this is something you guys got to remember. The cost is not always just the flat value at the end. You have to take into account your time, your wear and tear on your vehicle, and there's a lot of miscellaneous costs. So, God love commerce.
Yeah. There was another question here that I wanted to answer. eSun Filament from Parker Cooper. Your thoughts? I've used eSun Filament. I've never been a big fan of it. I find that I've only used their ABS. I haven't used their PLA. I find their ABS to be higher in odor than most other ABSs. And that could be because of the mix that they use. I don't know. But I just found that it was really, really strong when I used the eSun. So I try not to use anything that has too strong an odor because we have to have all of our printers in a separate room now. So let's get on to the question from Bill Ortel Jr. This has been waiting around for a while. Now, for those guys, if we missed a question tonight, I do want you guys to let us know if we've missed a question that you've sent in, because we recently have changed our service provider for all of our websites. And now we are using a different provider that allows us to have SSL certification on all of our websites. So now they're all secure. So it's it's a definite benefit for us, and it didn't cost us anything extra. Actually, it's costing me less to host my websites over there per year than it does on our old hosting plan. So if we lost some of your email,
Bonus.
I do apologize. So Bill Ortel says settings for Cura or Idea Maker. Now, well, Idea Maker, I don't know much about, but Cura, I can certainly help you. He says, I've got the same problem in both slicers. They won't finish the very top layers of the print. So I must be missing a setting or putting in the wrong value somewhere. I've even tried adding more top layers. Every preview shows the infill and no finished top layers on the print. Tried printing the Octopus or okay.
Octopus.
The octopus. I'm sorry. You were moving around on the screen here, so I can see
Oh.
your little edits. And the dome on the head was open to the infill layers. Same thing if I was printing an egg or a knob. What am I missing? That sounds to me either like a bad file, because if it's happening in both slicers and they're using the same, relatively the same settings, and you've got top layers turned on, that tells me that there's probably something wrong with the file. What do you think, Brian?
That's a tricky one because it sounds like he's tried multiple files too of different models and through different slicers. The question is, I'd love to see the preview all the way to the top layer just to see, and if it can, if you can send us that G-code file or that is generated, I'd love to take a look at that. But normally I would say that's actually an issue on the printer side where it's either having a partial clog at that height or something else is happening that tells it don't flow any more filament. It's a very odd thing.
It does sound like an odd thing. I would also check the SD card too. That could be a problem as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Omega X9400 said bad SD card, and that's a possibility as well. Kim Madsen.
Yeah, take those cards that the printer comes with, toss them away. I'm sorry, they're all garbage.
I throw them into a drawer. I don't use them. Kim Madsen, hi again. Like you know, I have the same problem with my Artillery Sidewinder X1. I'm sorry that you have an Artillery Sidewinder X1. No, I didn't mean that. Will not print PP and ABS. Now I know the problem. Clogged tube, PTFE, something. So what about a new and better hot end? I believe that the Artillery is set up very similar to the Creality Cr-10, if I'm not mistaken. And if that is the case, then you could certainly put a Micro Swiss all metal hot end on there, and that would just be fine. You should have no problems, because the problem with these cheaper hot ends is that Bowden tube goes all the way down into the heated zone of those hot ends. And if the material gets too hot, those PTFE tubes will tend to break down faster over a shorter period of time because they're just cheap tubes. So that's what I would double check. And
yeah, just
if that's the problem, go with a Micro Swiss all metal.
Or just, if you want to start out cheap, buy yourself a meter of Capricorn tubing. Put in some better tubing, start with that.
Yeah.
And then if you do want to upgrade the hot end, you can bring that tubing over.
Trevor Rickards asking, what do you think about the Idea Maker slicer? I've never used it other than with the Dremel, I believe, when we had the Dremel over at Spool. And in all honesty, I prefer using Cura over Idea Maker any day. Hey, we got a super chat.
Super chat
From Phil Morris. Thank you very much for the $5. Happy long weekend.
Thanks, Phil. Happy long weekend. You know what? It jumped from 32 degrees to about 78 degrees out here.
Yep.
We're getting used to it. You can see a lot of sun on my face. It's because I've been away for so long that the sun is shining in at this time of night now.
Parker Cooper is asking, is there any max size of SD card? My printer won't read my 8 gig cards. If it's not reading your 8 gig cards, you may have a problem with your board. more so than anything else. What do you think, Brian?
There's also a file system limitation of, I believe the printers use FAT32, and so
Yeah,
they don't like anything beyond 4 gigs. Now, that being said,
I
if your
use
printer's having a
32s, no
hard time,
problem.
yeah, some printers can handle the addressing space a bit better with larger ones, and some can't. So you can take a look. There are ways online to resize a 32 gig card with only like a 4 gig partition. But I would try doing a low level format, make sure it's the correct file system, which I believe is FAT32. I could be wrong. You guys can scold me in the chat if I'm wrong. But FAT32, um, it cannot be NTFS. I know that much. If it's NTFS, it's not even going to show up.
Yeah, it has to be
Uh,
formatted at FAT32.
so make sure everything important's off the card, copy it off, do that low level slow format, and then copy it back over and see if it shows up and let us know.
Corey Max says the Sidewinder has an E3D Volcano clone. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of clones. Just go and get yourself a real Volcano Hotend.
Yeah. And you know what? It's actually fairly cheap as long as you don't buy the kit.
Yeah.
If you've already got the setup for it, you don't need to buy the heat sink again. Just buy the heat break, buy the block, and you can transfer over your cartridges too.
So Kim responded to my being nasty and said, "So you are sorry?" Okay, that's fine. I understand. I'm just ribbing you, Kim. I've not used the Sidewinder. I've actually had a couple companies reach out to me and ask me if I'd like to have a look at one. And I've said yes, but nobody so far sent me one.
They say, okay, that's great to know. And then
yeah,
back to business, right?
yeah, we've actually had, we've got some really cool stuff coming in here over the next little while. We'll be seeing printers. Like I said, we've got printers from Frozen here now. We'll be seeing printers from BQ very soon. We're still waiting for that one from for the toy DIY 4-in-1 with the engraver and the laser engraver. So we're still waiting on that one. They've told me it's left China, but so far nothing shows up on the FedEx ticket. So,
and for what it's worth, we just dropped a review on the Monoprice one, and that's a pretty cool little unit.
That thing, I'm going to tell you, man, when that thing showed up here, when I first saw it, that when they sent me the email about it, I thought, okay, I'll have a look at it. I don't know if I'm going to have anything positive. I kind of set myself up for a negative review right away. And then we took it out of the box, my wife and I, because it was so damn light. We took it out, we fired it up, and they're not wrong. 30 seconds, you're up and running. They're not wrong about that. We set that thing up and we printed so many little things on it, and I got to tell you, it won me over. And you know me, I'm not a big fan of little tiny printers, but it won me over. And now it's sitting on my wife's desk. Oh, hang on. These are tips for icing sugar, or to do icing, that she printed just today and yesterday on the little tiny cadet.
Wow, look at how smooth those layers are.
I know.
Like the shine we're getting from the filament.
And that's 0.2.
Wow.
That's 0.2.
That looks fantastic.
So yeah, she's been busy making some of these. So I'm waiting for cookies or cake or something to look pretty fancy for me. Hey, we got another super chat.
Super chat.
Thank you, Kim Madsen. Even though I gave you a hard time, thank you.
That's a Danish crone. Wow, Kim, are you all the way from wow, that's a far away
Danish crone. Is that what DKK means?
Yeah.
Oh wow. 20 Danish. I don't think
from
I've
Denmark.
ever seen a Danish crone. But thank you for the 20 Danish crones.
Thank you.
They will go to buying Danish next time Brian and I are together.
Danishes.
Danish.
We've been gone for too long. What can I say?
Yeah, we haven't been on the show together for too long. Do you want to take this next one from Cody?
Yeah, absolutely. Where's it hiding there? Oh, wow. You give me the one with the textbook.
Yeah. Thought I would.
Hey, Cody, thanks for the awesome write-up, bud. It says, hello, Richard. My name is Cody, and I'm new to the 3D printer world and I'm totally excited about it. But I'm super green. For those of you who don't know, green field, that's an electrician thing, and having many issues. I've watched several videos of yours, and they've been very helpful. I thank you for your channel, and thank you for being a viewer.
Yes, thank you.
Anyways, here's my story, and maybe you can give me some much-needed guidance on... when I saw you're from Alberta, I knew we get along. I bought a TiVo Tornado online, and ever since I've unboxed it, it's been a learning experience for me. Everything from the TiVo instruction manual was notably different from what I was experiencing, as we've all found.
Mm-hmm.
I managed to download Arduino IDE and also Marlin 2.0. I have not been able to get the firmware to work. 2 solid days of trying to get the firmware configured, and I'm tearing my hair out, aren't we all? I found both configuration folders on my computer. I'm confused as to a few things as to how to load the new configuration onto Marlin and make the updates, as I only have one headed folder in Marlin and nothing to click or get the configurations on. I hope I'm making some sense, but I'll send a pic of my screen on Marlin. So
I do have the pic, and I know exactly what the problem is.
Ooh, okay. Let's. Can you bring up the picture there, Richard?
I can't because it's on a different computer.
Oh, okay, okay.
But at the very bottom of the pic, it says that it can't find the Arduino, the Arduino Mega. You know what error I'm talking about. So one of two things is happening. That the board that is in that machine is not Arduino Mega. It could be something else. I'm going to assume it's probably Arduino, but it might be, what is that small one? The Sanguino. It may be a Sanguino board. Mm-hmm. In that case, you're going to have to download some additional profiles for the Sanguino board, or your port is not communicating properly, so you're on the wrong COM port. So I would double check that, Cody. Actually, the last one down there on the bottom from Cody Gibson is the first email I got from him. So we'll just kind of play it all together.
I'm just going to check because TiVo is awesome in that they have open source firmware online. Motherboard is an MKS base.
So it is an MKS base. So you're not going to be using the Arduino Mega 2560 profiles. You are going to use the S-base profiles.
Or just the regular base. I don't think it's an S-base.
Yes.
Yeah, there's... if you ever have a printer and you want to start off with modifying the firmware, the first thing you should do is search up for someone who's made a Marlin build for your printer already. Yeah. And then you can read through that and start to learn what changes they've made in that source code, because a lot of things can go wrong. And, every time I downloaded a fresh new install of Marlin, I have to make at least 30 to 40 changes in that configuration file. So to try and save you guys from the grief, try and find someone who's built the firmware already, download it, and see if it resolves your issues.
There you go. And yeah, I think if it's the S-base board, then yeah, I definitely you're using the wrong board profile for it. Lewis Warnell,
Super Chat.
Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you very much for the $20. That will go into the kitty and help us out. We do always appreciate it.
I saw Lewis actually asked a question above here, so let's go ahead and chat about that.
Okay.
He asked, is it possible to do a video on the setup of Marlin 2.0 with BLTouch for the Cr-10 S? I can't seem to get the BLTouch to properly level the bed. It might be time actually for us to do a refresher on our Cr-10 S Marlin video.
Yes, and I think we will do a Marlin BLTouch, a brand new updated one for 2.0, because there's been some nightly changes on 2.0.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah, there's been nightly changes, not weekly, but nightly changes.
Try keeping like 8 printers synchronized on Marlin 2.0. It's been very tough because every time there was one little blip issue that has been resolved that, I don't want to rev up 8 printers. Right now, Marlin 2.0.5.3 has been out for roughly a month, and there hasn't been any major commits to the bug fix branch since then. So I think we're finally at a stage we can say this is a good version to start out with if you're jumping into 2.0 territory.
There you go. I just want to cover this last one from Corey Gibson. It is a different Corey now that I think about it. He says, "Hey, Richard, came across your YouTube channel and liked how you referred Canadian prices. Then realized you're in Canada and even in the same city. I subscribed. Thank you very much. I'm in Silverado, born and raised Calgarian. I'm a transplant from Manitoba." Sorry.
Boo.
Ooh.
Boo, says the man from Victoria. Boo.
So he says, "I've started getting into cosplay, EVA foam, and started getting interested in 3D printing as well. Curious if you recommend a 3D printer for printing helmets or armor for cosplay. Is the Ender 3 Pro provide a small of the Ender? Is the Ender 3 Pro? I'm basically he's asking, is it too small for prints like that? I would say no, it's not. You can do quite a bit on the Ender 3 Pro. I've done a lot on the Ender 3 Pro, from weapons to helmets to we did a complete Halo helmet on the Ender 3 Pro. So it's got enough room to do what you want. If you want to go bigger, then I would say go to the Cr-10 S version 2. Which would be the better way to go. Hello, Sausage. Hey, there's Tim, KKP 3D Printing, who was on the show a few weeks ago. He says, better late than never. Yeah, I think that if you're going to get into cosplay, sometimes bigger is better, but also bigger comes with its own issues. If you are brand new to 3D printing, I got to tell you, you can't beat the Ender 3 for the price. Learn to 3D print on that machine, then move up. And Brian, I think you'll agree with me on this.
Yes, as a person who owns right from the smallest range of 3D printers to the largest ones that are available in the consumer market, the bigger it is, the more problems you will have. And as much as I had a lot of fun dialing in this printer to print the 1.2 meter tall DMR rifle, I burnt through so many filament as a result of my failures. And looking back at it, I would have been 50 times better just to take that model, slice it up 4 times, and print it on a smaller machine, because my failures would have been much less costly. So the Ender 3 Pro, my caveat is if you're printing things like helmets, you're going to have a tough time printing them in a singular piece. However, I don't deem that as a bad attribute, because if you break it up into multiple pieces, failures are much less of an impact on your overall success.
Agreed. Because you can always reprint a smaller piece and keep going instead of trying to reprint the whole helmet. That's where you run into problems.
When your print layer shifts or clogs or thermal runaways 7 days into a print, I've been trying to print this rifle for 8 weeks, guys. Okay. Okay. I mean, it's piss off city. That's all I can say.
Here's actually a really good question from Robert Marvin. He says, how do you find out what version of Marlin you have? And it was answered. I will say that it should come up right on the very first screen when you turn on your printer. It'll tell you what version you're running. Depending on the printer, it could be running anything from 1.6 to 1.9. So that's where I would check first. And if you can't find it, then I would just go ahead and update it to the latest version of any firmware. Hey, there's Joseph Jolly.
Super chat.
Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you very much. That's my coffee.
Yeah, yeah, they're perfect. Yeah, if you there is, I believe, when you connect your printer as well via USB and you open up a program like Pronterface, it will report back the Marlin version. But that being said, and again, I'm gonna be pushing controversial lines with some people here. If you're unsure of which version of Marlin you're having and you're not really having any issues, just leave it as it is. The only asterisk to that is some of the early Creality printers where they didn't have thermal runaway. And if you're using something like Octoprint these days, it'll tell you if it has it. And we'll go through a couple of videos to show you as well how to detect if your printer has thermal runaway protection.
Yeah, we definitely have to get into doing more on that again. So we will schedule not for well, yeah, maybe I'll do one for this Wednesday. Actually, we'll do one on 2.0 because I have a printer I have to upgrade anyway. So we'll do it on
Hmm.
2.0 and the BLTouch, and that'll come out on Wednesday for you guys. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out and watch for Wednesday. I do apologize. This week's video was a couple of days late or a day late because we were waiting on additional information. We had already actually recorded that like a week and a half ago and had it all ready to go. It was actually sitting in the queue. And then we were waiting on some additional information from the company. So, yeah, that's kind of where that went. But yeah, we can
Hmm.
do we can definitely do one for this week coming up. And there's a couple of bakers in the room. What you cooking?
Yep, it's Baker trouble time, guys.
We got
Um,
Mark and Brian.
yeah, absolutely. And with that, we've burned through our backlog of questions. So
Yep.
if you guys still have more questions, throw them out in the chat there, and we will do our best to hot answer them live
We've
on
got about 15 minutes left
End
to
of
go.
Baker.
So I want to tell you guys, I did kind of mention what's happening with the store. It should be up in about another week. So you'll be able to get t-shirts there in about a week's time. And we would really appreciate it if you supported the show and bought yourself a t-shirt. Yes, I did see the message about the mugs. We are working on getting some mugs. That'll be something that comes along as we can find a distributor for those. We want to try and keep everything local. So one
Hmm.
of the things that we've done or that we're working on right now is, of course, the shipping rates, so that we can get you guys a bunch of good quality product at a very reasonable shipping rate. So as soon as we get that worked out, we're probably going to ship them through the post. I don't think we're going to do any FedEx or UPS or anything like that unless we get into some
Depending
bigger
on the
items.
location,
Yeah,
because some of the smaller stuff, it's not even worth it. You'll wait 8 weeks, right? And
yeah, yeah.
as to give you guys an idea with the postal service, the issues happening in America are happening up here as well. I've
Hmm.
had equipment returns that I've had levies against my accounts, and they've been sitting going 30 kilometers north, 18 to 20 days delivery.
Wow. Uh,
So it's unfortunate side effect.
Dominic's asking a question: when updating to a new version of Marlin 2, is there any easy way to apply edits from my current config files to my new ones? The short answer is no, but Brian has a
Mhm.
much more detailed answer to that.
Thanks. Yeah, he's not wrong about that. There are ways to compare files, and we'll again be covering that in the future. However, the unfortunate truth is that between the old version of Marlin and the new version of Marlin, pardon me, the files are so incredibly different that to run a comparison against them is a futile effort. So what I would advise is to, and I'll see if I can find the link here for you guys. Marlin has actually split out a default configuration project to track configurations for each printer. So if you have a Creality printer or a TiVo or a Monoprice or any of these, there's a location you can actually grab default configurations for the latest version of Marlin that has all your e-steps, your build volume, your stepper configs, your board config, all of that pre-configured so that all you have to do is make your minor modifications, such as if you swapped out the main board or have a different trinamic config or you want to try different tuning. So I will find that link and post it in the chat here for you guys about where to find those files nowadays. They used to come with Marlin, but as I said, they've been split out.
Yeah, my wife is just following up on the Daniel Noré OpenRC F1 car. She's going to put a link in the chat so where you guys can find information on the OpenRC project, which has been around now for what, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
around for a while.
And I found on Thingiverse a animated Batman the Animated Series Batmobile body for the OpenRC car.
Ooh.
So you know which one's going on mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey Hawk, my wife just posted in there the link to the OpenRC car. Daniel Noré, he's the guy who designed it. He's actually the guy who designed the Benchy as well. Just to
Oh,
kind of put that out there. Yeah, he designed the Benchy, which is pretty cool. He's and the wrench that went into space, you know, the spanner wrench that went into space,
Oh, really?
he designed that as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Sausage is going post to Australia. Yeah, we're gonna work that out for you, Sausage. I will get that worked out.
If it means
Um,
we have to 3D print a ship,
yeah, yeah. Our own beamer, or what do you call it? Star Trek thing, the beamer transporter. That's it.
oh, transporter. There you go.
Wow, I've been watching way too much Star Wars lately. I'm forgetting
Yeah,
all
no,
about Star Trek.
that's
Um,
it's the shirt, man. It's the shirt.
it is. Knowledge Quest is asking, how do you enable the EEPROM on the printer running Marlin without flashing the firmware? There is an M code that you're going to have to use, and that M code is M115. I believe Pierre has put that in there as well.
No, I think that was for viewing the Marlin version
Oh,
there.
okay. No, it is
The
not
simple
115.
answer,
To enable the EEPROM, it's 502 and then 500 to save it.
that is to flush out the EEPROM. The challenge is when you compile firmware is it has to allocate a certain memory space for
Correct.
EEPROMs. And so if your printer does not support, if the default firmware does not have the EEPROM configured, unfortunately you do need to flash it. So maybe let us know in the comments here what kind of printer you have, and we can kind of point you in the right direction. Uh, when you're updating Marlin these days, something as simple as downloading a default config and enabling EEPROM is a rather seamless process. So we can go over that once we find out what printer you have there.
Or you can send it to us at questions@thefirstlayer.com. Let me just pull up.
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
let me just pull that up real quick.
Da, 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 da.
Da, 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 da. There we go. All right. So if you guys want to submit your questions or you have anything really technical that you want us to tackle, please send them to questions@thefirstlayer.com. If you don't send them there and you send them directly to me, chances are they're going to get missed because my email, richard@thefirstlayer.com, I get a lot of, as you guys can imagine, I get a lot of emails relating to, can you test my project or product? Would you like to look at my product? Things like that. So I'm dealing with other companies a lot. And that's really what I use that for. But you can still contact me there. Just really put in, I need this read in the comments. If you can't remember to go to questions@thefirstlayer.com. Okay. Brian, are you still there?
I am still here. I'm
Okay,
just
good.
very quiet.
Okay.
Lewis Warnell is asking, what are your thoughts on upgrading the heated bed in a CR10S using a relay and line voltage? Oh, I don't know how I feel about that one. Richard, what do you think?
I wouldn't. In all honesty, I wouldn't. There's already a relay inside the box for the
Mhm.
CR10S. So by putting another relay on there, you're not gaining anything. I know it takes a while for the CR10 bed to heat up. That's because it's only 12 volt. That's the biggest problem. Where
Mhm.
you'd benefit, and it's a huge upgrade, but by upgrading everything to 24 volt, that's where you're going to benefit. But that
Yep,
requires,
but
yeah, that requires stripping out the bed and putting a 24 volt bed on there. Because if you try and attach that 12 volt bed to a 24 volt circuit, you're going to blow it.
yep,
And you could start a fire in your house. And I really don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
yeah, and you got to replace your heat block. You
Yep.
got to replace all of your fans, or have voltage step down circuits, and then you have to retune the whole thing, which I have done on my 10S5. It is not fun. It was very necessary at the time, but I don't. The reason I push people away from AC beds is because AC electricity is not something to mess around with,
That's true.
and you have a lot of moving cables on a 3D printer, and I really don't want you to have a fire start over a bad solder joint or a bad flex point. And AC electricity, if it is shorted and you grab that, AC causes you to grip more rather than release it. So with DC, you generally don't get a shock even, but with AC, AC does kill. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're absolutely set on having that 30-second heat up rate and you know what you're doing with your electricity, then proceed at your own risk. But if you're unfamiliar with that space, I don't think the benefits are going to outweigh the risks.
There you go. Omega X9400, being a local Calgarian, do you find the need to dry PLA filament? I've had 2 rolls out in the open since last fall, and I'm curious if it's something I should look at. Yes, you should look at that. I recommend, doesn't matter what climate you're in, with PLA, I recommend that you build yourself a dry box or get yourself a sealed box of some sort. PLA does have a tendency to suck up moisture from the air. And when it becomes very brittle and it starts to snap, you know you've got too much moisture in it. So yes, you do need to store your PLAs properly. Doesn't matter where you are. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody. There is a video in our log on how to build your own little dry box that'll hold 4 to 5 rolls of filament. So I think that that will be a definite benefit for you. And I think we built that for just a little over $20. So
Something like that. There were standard IKEA parts and
yeah,
a couple of 3D printed parts.
yep.
And you know what? I certainly forget this too, and I've been encountering this lately. Even though your filament comes shipped vacuum packed with a desiccant bag on the inside, that doesn't mean that it's not moisture saturated. So we've talked before about filament
Mhm.
dryers and making sure your filament's dry. Just take it on the air of caution. I don't think personally you can over dry filament. I think you can overheat it and melt it, but there's no such thing as an over drying process. So the more dry it is, the better time you're going to have better prints. And if you can get that technique set down, then you're going to have a much better time with other filaments as well, such as PETG, HIPS, ABS, you name it, because they are way more susceptible to moisture than PLA.
That is very, very true. PLA, ABS, I just leave out for the most part, but PLA, PETG, nylons, hips, all that kind of stuff, I always put in a dry box, and I make sure that it's or in a bag with a desiccant pack. And you can buy desiccants in larger quantities, so you can just sprinkle some in the bottom of your dry box, and it'll really help.
Mhm.
Okay, so to help on a flat bed, this is what Pierre's saying. He insulated the bottom, and I've done that before as well. It does help. It does help to heat up the bed a little bit faster. Sausage,
It
thank you very
definitely
much for trying to give
helps.
us a super chat. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um,
I've actually got my bed. I misdrilled it, so I actually have a slight corner hanging down from my hot bed. And you know what? It heats up rapidly, but the temperature measurements from within that plate, not the actual build plate
mm,
itself. So
gotcha.
heat transfer and insulation are absolutely key in succeeding with getting that temperature up there.
So, Brian, while we're in our last 5 minutes or 4 minutes now, I guess we're into 4 minutes. What do you got coming up for prints? What are you working on?
Well, I'm actually going to fire the machine up. I've been gone for a week and a half, and I decided to build a deck today instead of working on my printers. So,
I'm going to be at your house next week.
yes, you'll be dropping by, and well, assuming they don't lock everything down again.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed, slow guys.
yeah. Assuming they
But
don't lock everything down again.
yeah, I've finally moved through my 12 kilos of gray filament from filaments.ca, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm on to my box of black, which was quite a nice filament to print with. But I have a couple of Z alignment issues with my 10S5 that I've been putting on the back burner addressing until I had some time. So with this long weekend now, I intend on removing my X gantry and doing some alignment, and seeing, based off my discussions with Luke Hadfield, if many of my issues were a result of cheap Amazon polycarbonate wheels.
Hmm. Interesting to note.
Yes.
For
How
me,
about yourself?
I'm going to be playing with this this new resin printer from Frozen, the Frozen Sonic
Ooh.
Mini, which will be coming out in a couple of weeks. We will give you guys a lowdown on that in a couple of weeks and let
How
you know
many
what we
resin
thought.
machines are you up to now?
3, but I'm going
Okay.
to be going back down to 2 because my brother is taking one off my hands.
You should for that video put three of them side by side and print the same files and see how they come out.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I have to do the review on this first before I do a head to head.
I had
What did we use as an insulator? I've used cork in the past. You can get cotton pads that will go up underneath there, insulating cotton pads. R. Smith is asking that question, so I'll take the chance to answer that real quick. How you stick it to it is you just use some Kapton tape, go around the outside, and just stick it up underneath the bed, and you should be fine. Knowledge Quest, I don't have time to look into that right now, but please send that to questions@thefirstlayer.com because we're wrapping things up. So we will get to that for next week. If not, I'll send you some sort of solution during the week if I can, or Brian will have a look at it. I'll share it with him as well, and we can both put our heads together on it. We are going to say goodnight now because we're at the end of the show. 2 minutes to go. Thank you everybody for your time. If you got something out of tonight's show, please give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below in our comment section. It really goes to helping our metrics here on YouTube. And we look forward to seeing you guys all again on Wednesday. We are going to cover Marlin 2.0 and the BLTouch on Wednesday's show. I will do a video for that tomorrow because we're on a long weekend. I can do a video tomorrow for that. And then we will go from there. Until we see you next time, Brian, it's always nice to see you here on the show. Glad you're here.
always a pleasure to see you again, Richard, and
Are
all
we
of
going
our
to have you for a while?
I think so. I don't believe my next upgrade is for another couple months, and then I'll be out in your homeland, in the homeland of Manitoba.
Manitoba. Should I just hide in your suitcase and go with you?
Yeah, probably.
We'll do the show live from Manitoba.
There you go.
There you
all,
go.
all 8 bits of internet.
Again, thank you all for joining us. Remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Until we see you on Wednesday, have yourselves a great long weekend. For all of you Canadians that are on the show, and for all of you that are not Canadian, have yourselves a great weekend, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Take care, everyone.